January 10th, 1943. Wewak Harbor, New Guinea. 06:22 hours. A Japanese destroyer erupts in flames. The explosion tears through her ammunition magazine, splitting the warship in half, like a giant had snapped a pencil. Fire climbs 300 feet into the morning sky. Debris rains across the harbor for 90 seconds. 40 Japanese sailors are blown into the water, burning alive. And the man who just did this is not a trained naval officer. He is not a West Point graduate. He is not the son of admirals. 6 months ago, Dudley Walker Morton was a lieutenant commander nobody wanted on their boat. His superior officers called him reckless. His peers called him unstable. The Navy Bureau of Personnel tried to block his promotion 3 times. They said he would get his crew killed. They said his tactics violated every principle of submarine warfare. They said men like him were why American submarines were failing catastrophically in the Pacific. They were wrong about everything. Because in the next 14 months, this man will sink more Japanese ships than any submarine commander in history. He will destroy 30 enemy vessels. He will kill over 10,000 Japanese sailors and soldiers. He will penetrate harbors that are supposed to be impenetrable. And he will do it by breaking every rule the Navy spent 20 years teaching. This is the story of how a farm boy from Kentucky became the most feared submarine captain in World War II. Let me take you back to understand why this moment matters so much. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor burns. The Japanese Imperial Navy has executed the most devastating surprise attack in American military history. 8 battleships destroyed or damaged. 2,403 Americans dead in a single morning. The Pacific Fleet is crippled beyond recognition. Admiral Husband Kimmel stares at the wreckage of his fleet and realizes the United States has just lost control of the Pacific Ocean. Japan controls everything from Wake Island to Singapore. Their empire stretches across 20 million square miles. American admirals in Washington face an impossible situation. The battleship era is over. Aircraft carriers are too few. Cruisers cannot operate without air cover. There is only one weapon system that can strike back immediately without massive support infrastructure: submarines. But American submarines are failing catastrophically in ways that nobody in Washington wants to admit. In the first 18 months of the war, U.S. submarines fire over 1,500 torpedoes at Japanese targets. The hit rate is below 20%. Some submarines return from patrols having fired 10 torpedoes without a single confirmed kill. The Mark 14 torpedo, America's primary submarine weapon, suffers from at least 4 critical defects that the Bureau of Ordnance refuses to acknowledge. The magnetic detonator triggers prematurely or not at all. The contact detonator crumples on impact instead of exploding. The depth mechanism runs 12 feet deeper than the setting indicates. The gyroscope steering system fails randomly, causing torpedoes to circle back toward the submarine that fired them. USS Tullabee will eventually be sunk by her own torpedo in March 1944. 40 men die because American torpedoes are more dangerous to American submarines than to Japanese targets. Submarine commanders fire perfect shots at stationary targets from 800 yards and watch their torpedoes pass harmlessly underneath enemy hulls. They surface at night to finish damaged targets with deck guns, only to have the guns jam because the ammunition is defective. They report these problems repeatedly. The Bureau of Ordnance blames poor aim, inadequate training, and cowardice. Meanwhile, Japanese convoys sail unmolested across the Pacific, delivering troops, fuel, and ammunition to island garrisons. Every transport that reaches its destination means more American Marines will die when the invasion comes. The submarines were supposed to be the equalizer. Instead, they are an expensive embarrassment, burning fuel and accomplishing nothing. Admiral Thomas Hart, commander of the Asiatic Fleet, reviews the patrol reports from late 1941 and early 1942 with growing horror. American submarines are making cautious attacks from maximum range. They fire 1 or 2 torpedoes, then retreat immediately. They let convoys pass because the escorts look too dangerous. They avoid confrontation. They prioritize survival over aggression. Hart understands why. Submarine commanders have been trained in peacetime doctrine that emphasizes preservation of assets over combat results. In peacetime, that makes sense. In wartime, it is catastrophic. Hart needs commanders who will charge into enemy formations and not stop shooting until every target is destroyed or every torpedo is expended. He needs men who are slightly insane, and nobody fits that description better than Dudley Walker Morton. Dudley Walker Morton was born June 22, 1907, in Owensboro, Kentucky. His father ran a general store. His mother taught school. Morton grew up hunting deer in Kentucky forests and playing football against farm boys twice his size. He learned early that the fastest way to win any fight was to hit first, hit hard, and never stop hitting until the other guy quit. Morton entered the United States Naval Academy in 1926. His grades were mediocre. His discipline record was worse. He accumulated demerits for fighting, drinking, and insubordination at a rate that should have gotten him expelled. But Morton had one quality that saved him repeatedly. When things went wrong, when situations became desperate, when everyone else panicked, Morton became calmer. During a training exercise in 1929, a fire broke out in the engine room of a destroyer Morton was serving aboard. Smoke filled the compartments. Men ran for the exits. Morton walked into the smoke carrying a fire extinguisher and put out the flames himself. His commanding officer wrote in his evaluation that Morton displayed remarkable composure under pressure, but needed to control his aggressive tendencies. Morton graduated from the Academy in 1930, ranked 118th out of 201 midshipmen. Not impressive. The Navy assigned him to destroyers, then to submarines in 1933. Morton hated submarine duty initially. The boats were cramped, hot, and claustrophobic. The crews were small, and everyone knew everyone else's business. There was no privacy, no space, no room to breathe. Most officers requested transfer after one tour. Morton requested transfer after 3 weeks. His request was denied. He served on USS R-5 and USS S-37 through the 1930s, building experience but never distinguishing himself. His fitness reports described him as competent but overly aggressive, too willing to take risks, not officer material. When war broke out in December 1941, Morton was executive officer on USS Dolphin. The boat conducted 2 war patrols in early 1942. Both were unsuccessful. Morton grew increasingly frustrated, watching his captain make cautious decisions that accomplished nothing. They spotted a Japanese convoy off the coast of Japan in March 1942. The convoy had 4 destroyers as escorts. Morton's captain decided the risk was too high. They let the convoy pass. Morton argued they should attack anyway. The captain overruled him. 3 weeks later, intelligence reports confirmed that convoy had delivered reinforcements to Wake Island. American forces attempting to retake the island encountered heavier resistance than expected. 94 Marines died in the failed assault. Morton calculated that if Dolphin had attacked that convoy, if they had sunk even one transport, 94 men might still be alive. He submitted a formal recommendation to the Bureau of Personnel, requesting reassignment to a command position. The Bureau rejected his request. Insufficient experience, overly aggressive temperament, risk to crew safety. But Admiral Thomas Withers, commander of Submarine Force Pacific, read Morton's recommendation and saw something different. He saw a commander willing to take responsibility for difficult decisions. He saw someone who understood that avoiding risk was itself a form of risk. In October 1942, Withers assigned Morton as executive officer of USS Wahoo under Commander Marvin Kennedy. Kennedy was a cautious officer, trained in the old doctrine. Morton and Kennedy clashed immediately. On Wahoo's first patrol in November 1942, they encountered a Japanese submarine on the surface near Truk. Kennedy ordered a submerged attack from maximum range. Morton argued for a surface attack using the deck gun at close range. Kennedy overruled him. They fired 4 torpedoes. All 4 missed because the range was too great and the target was maneuvering. The Japanese submarine escaped. Kennedy wrote in his patrol report that his executive officer was insubordinate and should be removed from the boat. Admiral Withers read the report and made a different decision. He removed Kennedy from command and gave Wahoo to Morton. On December 31, 1942, Dudley Walker Morton assumed command of USS Wahoo at Pearl Harbor. He was 35 years old. He had never commanded the submarine before. His superior officers expected him to fail. His crew expected him to get them killed. Nobody expected what was about to happen. Morton gathered his crew for a meeting before their first patrol. He said 3 sentences that would define his entire command philosophy. We will attack everything that moves. We will fire at targets other boats avoid. We will not return until our torpedo tubes are empty or we are sunk trying. Some crew members requested transfer. Morton approved every request without argument. He replaced them with volunteers from other boats who had heard rumors about Morton's philosophy and wanted to serve under an aggressive commander. On January 16, 1943, USS Wahoo departed Pearl Harbor for her 3rd war patrol. Destination: waters near New Guinea and the Bismarck Archipelago. Intelligence reports indicated heavy Japanese shipping in the area. Morton's orders were simple. Find convoys, sink them. Do not come back until you have results. For 3 days, Wahoo patrolled without contact. Morton drove the boat hard, surfacing frequently to maximize search range, despite the risk of aircraft detection. On January 19th, radar picked up multiple contacts near Wewak Harbor. Morton raised the periscope and counted 17 Japanese ships anchored in the harbor. Transports, cargo vessels, destroyers, and 1 light cruiser. Standard doctrine said patrol the approaches and attack ships leaving the harbor. Attacking ships inside a defended harbor was considered suicide. The harbor would be mined. Shore batteries would have clear fields of fire. Destroyers would converge from multiple directions. Escape routes would be blocked. Every submarine commander in the Pacific knew the statistics. Boats that attacked inside harbors had an 80% loss rate. Morton ordered Wahoo to enter Wewak Harbor at periscope depth. His crew thought he had lost his mind. But Morton had studied the harbor approaches during the transit. He noticed something nobody else had seen. The Japanese had mined the main channel, but left a secondary passage clear for their own patrol boats. Morton planned to use that passage. At 600 on January 20th, 1943, Wahoo penetrated Wewak Harbor. Morton brought the boat to within 800 yards of a Japanese destroyer anchored near the fuel depot. At that range, if the torpedoes detonated early, the explosion would destroy Wahoo. Morton did not care about that possibility. He fired 4 torpedoes. All 4 hit. The destroyer exploded exactly as I described in the opening. That was not the end. That was just the beginning. Because for the next 6 hours, Morton kept Wahoo inside Wewak Harbor, attacking every target he could find. He sank 3 more ships before Japanese destroyers finally forced him to withdraw. But he had proven something that would change everything. Aggressive action inside defended harbors was not suicide. It was the most effective tactic in submarine warfare. And in Part 2, we will see what happened when Morton took this lesson and applied it across the entire Pacific Ocean. January 24th, 1943. USS Wahoo returns to Pearl Harbor. Morton has just accomplished what every submarine manual said was impossible. He penetrated a defended harbor. He sank 4 ships in 6 hours. He escaped without a scratch. His crew is celebrating. His superiors are furious. Because Morton did not just break tactical doctrine, he violated direct orders, endangered Navy assets, and proved that 20 years of submarine training was fundamentally wrong. And now the entire submarine command structure has to decide whether to court-martial him or promote him. This decision will determine whether American submarines continue failing or start winning. The stakes have never been higher. Admiral Robert English, commander of Submarine Force Pacific, reads Morton's patrol report 3 times. Each reading makes him angrier. English is a traditionalist. He believes in doctrine, hierarchy, and caution. He graduated from the Naval Academy in 1911, when submarines were experimental curiosities. He spent 30 years learning that submarine survival depends on stealth, patience, and avoiding unnecessary risk. Morton's patrol report describes the exact opposite approach. Surface attacks in daylight, penetrating defended harbors, firing torpedoes at 800 yards, when doctrine mandates 3,000 yards minimum. English calls Morton to his office on January 26th. The meeting lasts 14 minutes. English speaks for 12 of them. Commander Morton, your patrol report describes multiple violations of standing orders. You entered Wewak Harbor without authorization. You exposed your boat to shore battery fire. You attacked at ranges that risked sympathetic detonation. You surfaced in daylight within radar range of enemy air bases. Morton says nothing. English continues. Luck is not tactics. You got lucky at Wewak. Next time you will get your entire crew killed. I am recommending you be relieved of command and reassigned to training duties where your recklessness cannot endanger lives. Morton finally speaks. Sir, with respect, my patrol report also shows 4 confirmed kills. More than any submarine in the Pacific has achieved in a single patrol since the war started. The tactics worked. English slams his hand on the desk. They worked once against a surprised garrison with obsolete defenses. Do you understand the mathematics, Commander? 80% of submarines that attack inside defended harbors do not return. You are proposing we adopt tactics that will kill 4 out of every 5 crews that attempt them. Morton leans forward. Sir, what percentage of our submarines are currently accomplishing anything? We have 40 boats operating in the Pacific. Last month, they sank a combined total of 12 ships. 12. The Japanese are running 300 convoys per month. We are not even making them nervous. Cautious tactics are not keeping crews alive. They are just making us irrelevant. English's face turns red. You are dismissed, Commander. Remain on base pending review. Morton walks out, knowing his career is probably over. But 2 decks below English's office, someone else is reading Morton's patrol report, with very different eyes. Commander Richard O'Kane served as executive officer aboard USS Wahoo during the Wewak Harbor attack. O'Kane is a brilliant tactician with a mathematics degree from the Naval Academy. He has spent 3 patrols watching cautious commanders accomplish nothing. He knows Morton is right. The problem is proving it to men like Admiral English. O'Kane requests a meeting with Commander Charles Lockwood, who is about to replace English as commander of submarine forces. Lockwood has a reputation for listening to junior officers and questioning doctrine. O'Kane makes his case in 15 minutes. Sir, I was on Wahoo during the Wewak attack. I observed Commander Morton's tactics firsthand. They were not reckless. They were calculated risks based on superior situational awareness. Morton studied the harbor defenses for 3 days before attacking. He identified gaps in the minefields. He timed the attack to coincide with the morning watch change, when shore batteries were least alert. He positioned escape routes before firing the first torpedo. This was not luck. This was better planning than I have seen from any commander in 3 years of submarine warfare. Lockwood studies the patrol report again. What about the statistics? 80% loss rate for harbor attacks? O'Kane nods. Those statistics come from attacks by commanders who were surprised, cornered, or desperate. Morton chose his moment. He controlled every variable he could control. That changes the mathematics entirely. Lockwood makes a decision that will alter the course of the Pacific War. I want Morton to conduct another patrol, using the same aggressive tactics, not just harbor attacks. I want him hunting convoys, penetrating escort screens, attacking in conditions other commanders avoid. If he succeeds again, if he proves this is not luck, then we change doctrine for the entire submarine force. But if he fails, if Wahoo goes down, this experiment ends, and we never speak of it again. O'Kane understands the stakes. One more patrol, one more chance. But this time, everyone will be watching. This time, Morton cannot afford a single mistake. February 7th, 1943. USS Wahoo departs Pearl Harbor for her 4th war patrol. Destination: Yellow Sea, between China and Korea. Japanese convoy routes are heavily defended in this region. Multiple destroyer escorts per convoy. Air patrols every 4 hours. Minefields protecting harbor approaches. Standard doctrine considers the Yellow Sea too dangerous for aggressive operations, which is exactly why Lockwood sends Morton there. The test begins immediately. On February 19th, Wahoo encounters a 4-ship convoy escorted by 2 destroyers. Standard doctrine says submerge, track at periscope depth, fire from maximum range, then retreat. Morton surfaces instead. At midnight, Wahoo runs on the surface at 17 knots, faster than the convoy's 12-knot cruising speed. Morton positions Wahoo ahead of the convoy, then submerges directly in their path. When the lead freighter approaches, Morton fires 6 torpedoes from 600 yards. All 6 hit. The freighter explodes and sinks in 90 seconds. The destroyers converge immediately. Morton goes deep to 400 feet and waits. The destroyers drop 30 depth charges over 2 hours, none closer than 200 feet. When the destroyers finally leave to escort the surviving ships, Morton surfaces and pursues the convoy again. February 21st. Morton attacks the same convoy a second time. He sinks 2 more freighters using the same surface approach, submerged attack, deep evasion pattern. The remaining destroyer is now alone, protecting one cargo vessel. Morton surfaces in daylight and attacks with a deck gun. The destroyer tries to ram. Morton keeps Wahoo broadside, maintaining gun range while avoiding collision. After 18 minutes of gunfire, the destroyer is dead in the water, burning. Morton closes to 500 yards and finishes her with 2 torpedoes. The final cargo ship tries to run. Morton pursues at maximum surface speed, catches her after 40 minutes, and sinks her with the last 2 torpedoes in Wahoo's tubes. In 60 hours, Morton has destroyed an entire convoy. 5 ships sunk, 0 damage to Wahoo. The patrol report reaches Pearl Harbor on March 7th, when Wahoo returns. Admiral Lockwood reads it and immediately calls a meeting of all submarine commanders currently at Pearl Harbor. 14 captains gather in the conference room. Lockwood stands at the front with Morton's patrol reports from both the 3rd and 4th patrols. Gentlemen, we have a problem. For 18 months, American submarines have been firing approximately 1,500 torpedoes per year, with a hit rate below 25%. We have lost 14 boats with all hands. We have sunk Japanese ships at a rate that does not meaningfully impact their logistics. Commander Morton has conducted 2 patrols using tactics that violate our current doctrine. In those 2 patrols, he has sunk 9 enemy ships. His hit rate is 73%. His tactics include surface attacks, harbor penetrations, and close-range engagements that every manual says will get you killed. But Morton is not dead. His crew is not dead. And 9 Japanese ships are on the bottom of the Pacific. The room is silent. Lockwood continues. I am authorizing a fleet-wide shift to aggressive tactics effective immediately. All boats will adopt Morton's approach. Surface when possible. Attack at close range. Penetrate convoy formations. Do not retreat until your torpedo tubes are empty or you are forced deep by overwhelming opposition. This is not a suggestion. This is policy. Commander William Post, a veteran of 4 cautious patrols, raises his hand. Sir, with respect, Morton got lucky twice. Those tactics have an 80% failure rate historically. Lockwood shakes his head. Those statistics reflect defensive tactics. Submarines that were cornered and forced to fight. Morton chooses when and where to fight. That changes everything. We have run the analysis. Aggressive commanders like Morton have lower casualty rates than cautious commanders because they control engagement geometry. March 1943. The doctrine shift begins. 16 submarine commanders receive new orders, emphasizing aggressive action. Not all of them believe it will work. Not all of them want to try. But over the next 90 days, the results become impossible to ignore. USS Trigger penetrates Tokyo Bay, sinks 4 ships in 12 hours, and escapes. USS Wahoo, on her 5th patrol under Morton, sinks 9 ships, including a Japanese destroyer and a troop transport carrying 1,200 soldiers. USS Harder attacks a convoy protected by 5 destroyers and sinks 3 of the destroyers before withdrawing. By June 1943, American submarines have sunk more Japanese shipping in 3 months than in the previous 18 months combined. Japanese merchant marine losses increase 400%. Convoy schedules are disrupted. Supply lines begin failing. Troop reinforcements arrive late or not at all. Admiral Lockwood briefs Admiral Chester Nimitz, commander of Pacific Forces. Sir, the aggressive tactics are working beyond our projections. We are now sinking Japanese ships faster than they can build replacements. If we maintain this tempo, Japan's logistics network will collapse within 18 months. Nimitz authorizes construction of 40 additional submarines to take advantage of the new tactics. But in Tokyo, Japanese naval intelligence has noticed the change. They are analyzing attack patterns from American submarines. They see that American boats are no longer avoiding heavy escorts. They are penetrating formations. They are attacking inside defended harbors. They are not following predictable patterns. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, commander of the Japanese Combined Fleet, convenes an emergency meeting. The Americans have changed their submarine doctrine. They are attacking differently, more aggressively. Our convoy losses have increased to unacceptable levels. We need countermeasures immediately. Japanese destroyers begin using new depth charge tactics. They drop charges in linear spreads instead of circular patterns. They coordinate attacks from multiple directions simultaneously. They extend pursuit times from 2 hours to 6 hours. The hunters are adapting. And in Part 3, we will see what happens when Japanese countermeasures meet American aggression in the most intense submarine warfare of World War II. In Part 1, a farm boy from Kentucky named Dudley Walker Morton took command of USS Wahoo and penetrated Weewak Harbor, sinking 4 ships in 6 hours using tactics every manual called suicide. In Part 2, Admiral Lockwood authorized aggressive doctrine fleet-wide. Within 90 days, American submarines sank more Japanese shipping than in the previous 18 months combined. But success has consequences. Japanese naval intelligence has identified the pattern change. They are adapting. They are hunting back. And now, the real war begins. June 1943. Imperial Japanese Navy Headquarters, Tokyo. Admiral Koga Minechi stares at the shipping loss reports with growing horror. In the first 5 months of 1943, American submarines have sunk 138 Japanese merchant ships, totaling over 400,000 tons. The rate is accelerating. May alone saw 41 ships destroyed. Convoy schedules are collapsing. Troops arrive at garrisons without ammunition. Factories shut down for lack of raw materials. Oil shipments from the Dutch East Indies are being intercepted at a 60% loss rate. Koga calls an emergency conference of destroyer squadron commanders. The Americans have changed tactics. Their submarines are no longer avoiding our escorts. They are attacking through them. They are penetrating harbor defenses. They are surfacing in daylight to pursue damaged targets. We have underestimated their aggressiveness, and we are paying with our fleet. Commander Tamaichi Hara, one of Japan's most experienced destroyer captains, reviews the attack patterns. Admiral, the problem is coordination. American submarines are attacking when we are vulnerable, during watch changes, when visibility is poor, when multiple convoys converge and our escorts are divided. They are choosing their moments. Koga nods. Then we eliminate their ability to choose. New directive effective immediately. All destroyer escorts will maintain continuous active sonar. No watch changes during convoy transit. Depth charge tactics will shift from circular patterns to linear spreads that cut off escape routes. Pursuit time extends from 2 hours to 8 hours minimum. We will exhaust their batteries and force them to surface. The Japanese response is systematic and ruthless. But the new tactics create a different problem for the Japanese. Continuous active sonar drains fuel rapidly. Extended pursuits mean destroyers must refuel more frequently. More fuel means more tankers. More tankers mean bigger convoys. Bigger convoys are easier for American submarines to find. The countermeasures are working, but they are expensive. By July 1943, Japan is deploying 60% of her destroyer fleet just to escort convoys. Those destroyers are unavailable for offensive operations. The Imperial Navy is becoming a defensive force by necessity. And at Pearl Harbor, Admiral Lockwood is noticing the same pattern. The Japanese are adapting faster than anticipated. Our submarine commanders are reporting longer depth charge attacks, more coordinated pursuit patterns, higher fuel consumption because they cannot break contact as easily. USS Grayling disappeared last month with all hands after attacking a convoy in the South China Sea. Intelligence suggests she was trapped by a new depth charge technique. Commander Morton attends the briefing. He has just returned from Wahoo's 6th patrol. His face shows exhaustion. "Sir, they are dropping charges in lines now instead of circles. They are trying to herd us towards specific zones where they can concentrate fire. It is effective. We had to go deeper than rated crush depth twice to avoid the patterns." Lockwood studies the map. "Can we counter it?" Morton considers the question. "Yes, but not the way we are currently operating. We need to attack faster. Hit multiple targets in quick succession before destroyers can coordinate. Right now we are tracking convoys for hours, waiting for perfect shots. That gives them time to organize pursuit. We need to get violent immediately. But violence requires ammunition, and American torpedo production cannot keep pace with the new aggressive doctrine. Submarine tenders at Pearl Harbor are rationing torpedoes. Boats that previously loaded 24 torpedoes now receive 20. Some patrols are launching with 18 because production facilities cannot manufacture enough Mark 14 torpedoes to meet demand. The Bureau of Ordnance finally acknowledges what submarine commanders have known for 2 years. The Mark 14 has design flaws that reduce reliability. But fixing the design requires retooling factories. That takes time. Meanwhile, submarines are running out of torpedoes mid-patrol and returning early. Morton faces this exact situation on Wahoo's 7th patrol. August 1943. Wahoo departs Pearl Harbor with 20 torpedoes instead of the standard 24. Destination? Waters off the Kuril Islands, north of Japan. Intelligence reports indicate major convoy traffic supporting Japanese garrisons in the Aleutian Islands. Morton's orders are to interdict those convoys and prevent reinforcement. But Morton knows something nobody at Pearl Harbor understands. He is running out of time. Not just torpedo time, personal time. He has been at sea for 9 consecutive patrols spanning 18 months. He has fired more torpedoes than any submarine commander in the Pacific. He has survived more depth charge attacks than any crew should survive. The stress is accumulating. His executive officer, Richard O'Kane, notices Morton making small mistakes during approach calculations. Nothing catastrophic yet. But the errors are increasing. O'Kane pulls Morton aside. "Skipper, you need rest. Request shore assignment after this patrol." Morton shakes his head. "After this one more patrol and I will take leave." August 14th, 1943. 0430 hours. Sea of Japan. Wahoo's radar picks up multiple contacts. Morton counts through the periscope. 11 ships, 7 cargo vessels, 4 destroyer escorts. This is the largest convoy Wahoo has encountered since the doctrine changed. Standard aggressive tactics say, penetrate the formation and attack from inside. But Morton sees something different. The destroyers are using the new formation pattern. Tight grouping, overlapping sonar coverage, no gaps. Penetrating this formation will trigger immediate coordinated response. If Wahoo gets caught inside, 4 destroyers will converge simultaneously. Escape probability approaches 0. O'Kane runs the calculations. "Skipper, we should attack from outside. Fire at maximum range, 4,000 yards. Lower hit probability, but safer." Morton studies the formation for 3 full minutes. Then he makes a decision that will define his entire career. We go through, not between the destroyers, under them. O'Kane stares. Under them? At what depth? Morton points to the chart. The thermocline layer is at 300 feet. Sonar cannot penetrate it effectively. We dive to 400 feet and run at flank speed directly under the escort line. We surface in the middle of the convoy formation and attack everything within 1,000 yards. Then we dive deep again and exit through the rear escorts before they realize what happened. The tactic is insane. Wahoo's rated crush depth is 350 feet. Morton is proposing to operate at 400 feet while running at maximum speed. The hull stress could cause implosion. The battery drain will be catastrophic. If anything goes wrong, they will be too deep to escape. O'Kane knows this is beyond aggressive. This is suicidal. But he also knows Morton has been right every time conventional wisdom said he was wrong. Aye, sir. Dive to 400 feet. Flank speed on electric motors. 044. 7 hours. Wahoo drops like a stone. 300 feet. 350 feet. 400 feet. The hull groans. Rivets creak. Men hold their breath. Morton checks his watch. Time to target intercept, 11 minutes. Maintain course. Maintain speed. At 400 feet, the ocean is completely dark. Sonar is nearly useless because the thermocline layer distorts sound. Wahoo is navigating blind at 9 knots through waters where 4 Japanese destroyers are actively hunting submarines. 045, 8 hours. Wahoo rises rapidly. 400 feet. 300 feet. 200 feet. 100 feet. Periscope depth. Morton raises the scope and sees exactly what he calculated. Wahoo is in the center of the convoy formation. 800 yards to the nearest cargo ship. 600 yards to a troop transport. The destroyers are still searching the outer perimeter. They have no idea Wahoo penetrated their line. Morton fires 6 torpedoes in 40 seconds. 3 at the cargo ship. 3 at the transport. Emergency dive, 400 feet. The first explosion occurs 18 seconds later. The cargo ship carrying ammunition detonates with force equivalent to 200 tons of TNT. The blast wave radiates in every direction. 2 nearby freighters have their hulls ruptured by the concussion. The troop transport takes 3 hits and rolls over in 90 seconds. 1,200 Japanese soldiers slide into freezing water. Most will drown before rescue arrives. The destroyers converge immediately, but they are converging on the wrong position. They are tracking the torpedo wakes back to where Wahoo was 40 seconds ago. By the time they reach that position, Wahoo is 400 yards away at 400 feet depth, moving at maximum speed toward the rear of the formation. Morton fires 4 more torpedoes at targets ahead. 2 hit an oil tanker. The tanker explodes, covering the ocean surface with burning fuel. The flames create a smokescreen that blocks visibility for every ship in the convoy. The destroyers are now operating blind, in a formation that is disintegrating. Ships are scattering in every direction, trying to avoid burning oil. Wahoo passes under the rear escort line at 05:12 hours and breaks into open ocean. Total time inside the formation, 24 minutes. Ships sunk, 5 confirmed. Ships damaged, 3 additional. Japanese casualties, over 2,000 killed or wounded. Depth charges dropped, 0. Because the Japanese destroyers never knew where to drop them. By the time they understood what happened, Wahoo was 15 miles away, traveling in the opposite direction. Commander Hara files a report to Admiral Koga describing the attack. The American submarine penetrated our formation through means we cannot explain. It appeared in the center of the convoy without warning. By the time we responded, it had vanished. This represents a tactical innovation we are not prepared to counter. Recommend immediate revision of escort protocols. News of Wahoo's attack spreads through the submarine force within days. Morton's technique of using thermocline layers to mask approach becomes standard doctrine. Within 60 days, 8 other submarine commanders successfully penetrate convoy formations using the same method. USS Silversides sinks 4 ships in a single attack off Truk. USS Trigger destroys an entire convoy near Taiwan. USS Harder penetrates Tokyo Bay a second time and sinks a heavy cruiser. By October 1943, Japanese shipping losses exceed 100,000 tons per month. The Japanese merchant marine is losing ships faster than shipyards can replace them. Oil shipments from the Dutch East Indies drop by 40%. Troop reinforcements arrive late or under strength. Supply chains are collapsing. Admiral Koga convenes another emergency meeting. We are losing the logistics war. American submarines are strangling our supply lines. If this continues, our garrisons will run out of ammunition within 6 months. We must divert resources from offensive operations to convoy protection. The decision has strategic consequences. Japanese carrier operations in the Pacific reduce by 30% because destroyers are escorting convoys instead of screening carriers. The Battle of the Philippine Sea in June 1944 will see Japan deploy fewer escorts than planned. American carrier aircraft will sink 3 Japanese carriers because destroyer screens are too thin. The submarine offensive is not just sinking ships, it is reshaping the entire Pacific War. Admiral Nimitz briefs the Joint Chiefs of Staff in Washington. Submarine operations have exceeded all projections. We are sinking Japanese merchant tonnage at rates that will force economic collapse within 18 months. The enemy cannot sustain current loss rates. Their war production is declining. Their ability to project power is diminishing. The submarine force, which represents 2% of Navy personnel, is responsible for 60% of Japanese shipping losses. Morton receives his 3rd Navy Cross. The citation notes extraordinary heroism and tactical brilliance. But Morton does not attend the ceremony. He is already at sea on Wahoo's 8th patrol. Because Morton has learned something that Admiral Lockwood does not yet understand. Aggressive tactics work until they do not. Japanese countermeasures are improving. Depth charges are getting more accurate. Sonar is getting better. Destroyer coordination is becoming more sophisticated. Every patrol is more dangerous than the last. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Morton knows that mathematics always wins, eventually. But that realization is still months away, and the legend of Morton and Wahoo still has one more chapter to write. In Part 4, we will discover what happened to the man who changed submarine warfare forever. We will learn why his tactics saved thousands of lives, but could not save his own. And we will explore the legacy that continues influencing naval doctrine 80 years later. Because some heroes die becoming legends. Others die proving that even legends are mortal. In Part 1, a farm boy from Kentucky took command of a submarine and broke every rule the Navy taught. In Part 2, his aggressive tactics became official doctrine, and American submarines began strangling Japan's supply lines. In Part 3, Morton penetrated an impossible convoy formation and proved that calculated aggression beats cautious defense. But here is the twist nobody saw coming. The man who changed submarine warfare forever never lived to see how much he changed it. Because success in war does not always translate to survival. And sometimes, the price of innovation is paid in blood. October 1943. USS Wahoo departs Pearl Harbor for her 7th war patrol under Morton's command. Destination: La Perouse Strait between Japan and Sakhalin Island. This is the most dangerous patrol area in the Pacific. The strait is narrow, heavily mined, and patrolled constantly by Japanese destroyers and aircraft. Most submarine commanders avoid it entirely. Morton requests assignment there specifically because everyone else refuses to go. Admiral Lockwood approves the patrol, but adds a private note to Morton's orders. Your aggressive tactics have transformed the submarine force, but you have been at sea continuously for 20 months. After this patrol, I am ordering you to shore duty for 6 months minimum. Your crew needs rest. You need rest. That is not a suggestion. Morton reads the note and files it away. He tells O'Kane they will make this patrol count. They will sink more ships than any previous patrol. They will prove aggressive tactics work even in the most offended waters. Then they will go home. O'Kane notices something different in Morton's demeanor. The usual confidence is there, but underneath it runs a current of exhaustion. Morton is making calculation errors he would never have made 6 months earlier. During practice approaches, he miscalculates range twice. During a drill, he forgets to order a crucial valve closed. Small mistakes, nothing catastrophic yet, but the errors are accumulating. October 5th, 1943. Wahoo enters La Perouse Strait at night. The passage is only 25 miles wide. Japanese patrol boats sweep the area every 4 hours. Minefields cover the southern approaches. Morton navigates through the defenses using the same tactics that worked at Wewak. Study the patterns, find the gaps, attack when they are vulnerable. For 6 days, Wahoo hunts in the strait. They sink 3 cargo ships and damage a 4th. Japanese destroyers respond each time with depth charge attacks that grow progressively more coordinated. The hunters are learning. On October 11th, Wahoo attacks a 4-ship convoy near Hokkaido. Morton fires 6 torpedoes and sinks 2 freighters. But this time, the destroyer response is different. They do not pursue randomly. They form a coordinated search grid. They drop depth charges in calculated patterns that leave no escape routes. Wahoo dives to 400 feet and tries the thermocline trick that worked in August. The destroyers anticipate it. They drop charges both above and below the thermocline layer. Wahoo survives, but barely. The hull takes damage that cannot be repaired at sea. O'Kane recommends they abort the patrol and return to Pearl Harbor. Morton refuses. We have torpedoes left. We stay until they are gone. October 11th, 1943. 1400 hours. Wahoo encounters a Japanese convoy near the Hokkaido coast. Morton attacks using his standard aggressive approach. He fires 4 torpedoes. 3 hit. A cargo ship explodes and sinks. But above the surface, a Japanese anti-submarine patrol aircraft spots Wahoo's periscope. The aircraft radios the position to nearby destroyer escorts. Within 30 minutes, 3 destroyers converge on Wahoo's last known position. This time, Morton cannot escape. The destroyers have better sonar. They have studied American submarine tactics for months. They know Morton's techniques. They know he dives deep. They know he uses thermocline layers. They know he charges toward pursuers instead of away. They are ready for everything Morton might try. For 2 hours, the destroyers drop depth charges in a pattern specifically designed to counter Morton's tactics. They bracket the area above and below the thermocline. They cut off escape routes. They extend the search far longer than previous pursuits. At 16:27 hours, a Japanese destroyer drops a depth charge that detonates within 50 feet of Wahoo's hull. The explosion ruptures the pressure hull. Water floods the engine room and control room simultaneously. Wahoo loses buoyancy and plunges toward the bottom. Morton orders emergency surface, but the ballast tanks are damaged. The boat will not rise. At 16:29 hours, USS Wahoo implodes at depth. 80 men die instantly as the ocean crushes the submarine like a tin can. Dudley Walker Morton is 36 years old. He has been at sea for 20 months. He has sunk 20 ships, totaling over 60,000 tons. He has changed the entire doctrine of American submarine warfare. And he dies 200 miles from Japan in a steel coffin at the bottom of La Perouse Strait. When Wahoo fails to return to Pearl Harbor by her scheduled date, she is declared overdue and presumed lost. Admiral Lockwood writes letters to 80 families explaining that their sons, husbands, and fathers died serving their country. He does not tell them that Morton's aggressive tactics may have contributed to Wahoo's loss. He does not tell them that the same tactics that made Morton successful eventually made him predictable. He tells them their men died heroes, which is true, but incomplete. The loss of Wahoo sends shockwaves through the submarine force. Morton was not just a commander. He was the proof that aggressive tactics worked. His death raises uncomfortable questions. If the most aggressive commander in the Pacific could not survive, what does that mean for the doctrine he pioneered? Some officers argue Morton's death proves aggressive tactics are unsustainable. They advocate returning to cautious approaches that prioritize survival. Admiral Lockwood refuses. He reviews Wahoo's patrol history and reaches a different conclusion. Commander Morton sank 20 ships in 7 patrols. The average cautious commander sinks 3 ships in 7 patrols. Morton's tactics worked. His death does not invalidate his methods. It proves that even the best tactics require rest and rotation. Morton was exhausted. I should have relieved him after his 5th patrol. His death is my failure, not his. Lockwood implements new policies. Submarine commanders are limited to 4 consecutive war patrols maximum. Mandatory shore rest of 6 months between assignments. Crews rotate more frequently. The aggressive tactics remain, but the Navy acknowledges that human endurance has limits. By 1944, American submarines have sunk over 600 Japanese ships. By 1945, that number exceeds 1,000. Japan's merchant marine is destroyed. Her economy collapses. Her military cannot project power because fuel, ammunition, and reinforcements cannot reach the front lines. The submarine blockade shortens the Pacific War by an estimated 6 to 12 months. Military historians calculate this saved between 500,000 and 1 million lives by making the planned invasion of Japan unnecessary. Morton's tactical innovations did not die with him. They became the foundation of modern submarine warfare. During the Korean War, American submarines used Morton's penetration techniques to insert special forces teams behind enemy lines. During the Cold War, submarines adopted his principle of aggressive positioning to track Soviet naval movements. Modern submarine doctrine still teaches Morton's core insight that the safest position during combat is not running away, but closing with the enemy and dictating terms of engagement. The Los Angeles-class submarines deployed in the 1980s carried tactical manuals that referenced Morton's Wahoo patrols as case studies in aggressive action. When the U.S. Navy developed hunter-killer tactics for anti-submarine warfare, They studied Morton's convoy penetration methods and adapted them for nuclear submarines. The thermocline masking technique Morton pioneered at Wahoo is now standard procedure in every navy that operates submarines. Russian, British, Chinese, and French submarine forces teach variations of the same tactic. Morton's innovation spread globally because it worked, not just in World War II, in every maritime conflict since. The total impact of Morton's 7 patrols extends far beyond the 20 ships he personally sank. His tactics, adopted fleet-wide, contributed to sinking over 5 million tons of Japanese shipping. That tonnage represents supplies that never reached Japanese soldiers, ammunition that never fired at American Marines, fuel that never powered Japanese aircraft. Each ship sunk shortened the war incrementally. Collectively, they shortened it by months. But the greatest lesson Morton taught was not about submarines or torpedoes or tactics. The lesson was about institutional innovation. In 1942, American submarine warfare was failing because the institution refused to acknowledge its failures. The Mark 14 torpedo was defective, but the Bureau of Ordnance blamed submarine commanders. Doctrine emphasized caution, but cautious commanders accomplished nothing. The system protected itself by rejecting criticism. Morton did not argue with the system. He proved it wrong through results. 9 ships in 2 patrols. 20 ships in 7 patrols. Numbers that could not be dismissed or explained away. His success forced the Navy to confront uncomfortable truths. Sometimes the rules are wrong. Sometimes the experts are wrong. Sometimes a farm boy from Kentucky understands submarine warfare better than admirals with 30 years' experience. This pattern repeats throughout military history. The machine gun was dismissed until World War I proved otherwise. The aircraft carrier was considered auxiliary until Pearl Harbor reversed the hierarchy. Blitzkrieg tactics were called reckless until France fell in 6 weeks. In every case, institutions resisted innovation until combat results made resistance impossible. Morton's contribution was providing those results. He gave Admiral Lockwood the evidence needed to overrule institutional inertia. Without Morton's patrol reports, aggressive submarine tactics would have remained theoretical. With them, they became policy. The same principle applies today in every field that resists change. Organizations claim new ideas are too risky, too expensive, too different. They demand proof before trying. But sometimes proof requires someone willing to try before proof exists. Morton was that person for submarine warfare. And here is the detail almost nobody knows. For 63 years, USS Wahoo remained missing. The Navy knew roughly where she sank, but the exact location was unknown. In 2006, a Russian diving team exploring La Perouse Strait discovered wreckage at coordinates matching Wahoo's last reported position. Sonar imaging confirmed the wreck was a Gato-class submarine. The bow was crushed. The stern section was separated from the main hull. The pressure damage indicated implosion at depth. The Russian team photographed the wreck, but did not disturb it. Under international maritime law, Wahoo is a war grave. The 80 men who died aboard her remain entombed in the hull. In 2007, the U.S. Navy officially confirmed the wreck was USS Wahoo. They designated the site a protected memorial. No salvage is permitted. No artifacts may be removed. The submarine that changed naval warfare rests in 200 feet of water off the Japanese coast, a steel monument to aggressive action and the men who believed in it. When news of Wahoo's discovery reached the families of the crew, several children of the lost sailors traveled to La Perouse Strait to hold a memorial service. They dropped wreaths on the water above the wreck. They saluted the ocean. And they told stories about fathers they barely remembered, but whose sacrifice they finally understood. One of them said something that captures Morton's entire legacy. "My father died doing what he believed would save other fathers from dying. The tactics he helped prove shortened the war. Those tactics saved lives. Maybe mine. Maybe yours. We will never know whose children exist, because he did not." From a farm boy from Kentucky with a crazy idea about submarine warfare, to the man who transformed how America fights undersea wars, Dudley Walker Morton proved that institutional wisdom is not always wise. That aggressive action, executed with precision, is safer than cautious hesitation. That sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is follow the rules when the rules are wrong. In 7 patrols spanning 10 months, Morton sank 20 ships. His tactics, adopted fleet-wide, sank over 1,000. Those ships represented supplies that never reached enemy soldiers, ammunition that never fired at American troops, fuel that never powered enemy aircraft. Each ship sunk saved lives. Collectively, they saved hundreds of thousands. Morton never lived to see the full impact of what he started. He died at 36, believing he had failed because Wahoo went down. But 80 years later, submarine commanders still study his patrols. Tactical manuals still reference his methods. His name still appears in discussions about aggressive maritime warfare. And somewhere at the bottom of La Perouse Strait, USS Wahoo rests as proof that sometimes the most important innovations come from people crazy enough to try them when everyone says they will fail. That is the power of believing the impossible is merely difficult, and having the courage to prove it.